You can make 6 or 7 figures building an online course, but here's the thing. Most people tell you to build online courses the wrong way, and if you do it the way they tell you to and the order in which they tell you to do it, your odds of hitting those numbers are next to zero, right? So in today's video, I'm going to talk about the 5 biggest mistakes people make when creating online courses so that you can avoid them. So if you do want to get to a point where you're building and selling courses, it'll actually be profitable for your business. So before we get into the mistakes, I'll tell you a story that illustrates the first mistake I'm going to talk about. So this was a couple of years ago, and I had an audience. I had a couple thousand people on my email list, and I decided I was going to create a course, right? So I spent a couple of weeks putting together all the modules for the course. I wrote a bunch of emails for the course. I had everything set to go, and I hit send on that first email, right? So I wasn't expecting too much to come in, right? But I figured I was going to have a couple sales, but then nothing happened, right? So the first hour, I was like, okay, it's just the first hour. Tried not to panic. Second hour passed, third hour passed, and now I'm starting to get concerned, right? And then more time passed throughout the day, and I just started to get more and more frustrated. And by the end of that first day, I had made 0 sales. And so I figured, okay, it's just day 1 of the launch, right? I had email set up for the entire week. I figured maybe people just need more time. If I send them more emails, eventually they'll buy. And so with each passing day, I started to get more and more upset, right? This was actually one of the only times in my career that I actually wanted to quit. And it's because after a full 7-day launch, I made literally 0 sales and $0. And over that weekend, after that launch was over, I basically spent 72 hours in a full state of depression. Couldn't barely get out of bed. I was so upset with myself. But I'm thankful that that happened because I made a mistake that I'll never make again, which leads to mistake number 1 that you want to critically avoid at all costs if you ever want to actually have a successful course business. So the biggest mistake that people make when it comes to building online courses is launching a course when you don't have any proof that anyone wants to buy what you're selling. So you should never, ever sell a course until you have proof that people are going to want to pay for it. And the best way that you can get proof that people want to pay for it is to get them to actually pay for it, right? So the next time I launched a course, what I did was put together a sales page, a description for the program. I sent it out to a segmented group of the people in my audience who I thought it would be a good fit for. And I didn't build a single slide, didn't build a single module until I got 10 people to pay me up front. And that's what led to my entire sell before you build philosophy, right? So a lot of people think that they should spend all of this time building in the background before they launch something. But the problem with that is you have no idea what people actually want. And so if you spend all that time trying to create something, but the angle that you're selling it is completely wrong, and you're not talking about the things people are actually wanting to buy in that program, then it doesn't matter how much time and effort you put into it. And so when you come up with a concept and then you try to sell it, if it doesn't sell, then you could just go back to square one and you didn't waste any time, energy, and money. And if it does sell, what I did was just tell people that it was going to take 30 to 45 days for me to get that initial content put together. And they were more than happy to do that. And I've used that process for every single course that I've launched since. I've made 7 figures in course revenue because after that initial mistake of building something that nobody wants, I figured out how to collect money beforehand, how to validate what I'm selling before I put a single ounce of effort into it. And the selling before you build philosophy actually makes your products better because you get that initial group of people into your course, into your program, and they will give you feedback on what works best for them and what they didn't like so much, so that you can actually iterate and make your program much better through actual feedback with users, right? This is how they build startups, right? So startups don't have final finished products that they send to market. They create what's called a minimum viable product. They get users in, they get feedback from those users, and then they iterate. You should do the same thing with your online course. You should not build a single slide, module, anything until you actually have a deposit. And this next step that I'm about to share with you is actually an even better way to make sure that your online course sells. And you should avoid this mistake that I'm going to talk about next so that you have a chance of having an online course that sells to begin with. So the second mistake most people make when it comes to making online courses is building courses in the first place. It's building courses as their very first product. So a lot of creators with expertise or people who have something that they want to teach other people, their first instinct is to package that knowledge up into a course, but it's actually not the best way to monetize your business. The best way to monetize your business is to actually sell a solution to an individual person for a lot of money and then scale out to more and more people over time, right? So when I work with my clients, I help them build a high ticket offer where they're charging $3, $4, $5, $10,000 up front to solve a specific problem for a specific individual. So that way they get more cash flow into their business faster. That's number one. But number two, when you're working directly one-on-one with people, you get a much more intimate understanding of what their problems are. And so as you notice patterns in the people that you're working with, you can start to extract those patterns. And if you know that nearly 100% of your one-on-one clients have this specific problem, then that's something that you can install into your evergreen course. If you know that nearly 100% of them want this specific outcome, that's going to help you dictate the marketing and positioning for your course in the future. So working closely with people one-on-one, and even the process involved in doing it, like getting on sales calls with people, reaching out to people in the DMs, and connecting directly with people in your target audience, is going to teach you so much more about your business than trying to build a course would in the first place. Second, the math is much more in your favor. A lot more cumbersome to try to make $10,000, $20,000 a month selling a $100, $200 course than it is to just get people to pay you thousands of dollars at a time. And last, you'll actually have proof that you are delivering transformations for people in the form of case studies, testimonials, and results, so that when you do build something that's more scalable, you actually have proof that it even works, that you even know what you're doing in the first place, which is going to make it much easier to sell something more scalable in the future. And so the natural progression I help my clients with, first, they start with a one-on-one coaching for the high ticket prices. Then they move to a group model. I call it coaching at scale, where you're helping multiple people at once and you're changing some of the delivery to be in a group format. So then that gives you the foundations to create an online course where you can scale to many people, right? So you should go from one-on-one to a handful, and then finally one to many at the end. So after you figure out how to actually validate what you're selling, you have case studies, you have testimonials, you have proof, you want to avoid this next mistake that most people make when they're actually in the building phase of their course, because it's going to cost you way too much time, money, and effort, and it's not actually going to drive the outcome that you think of making more sales or making your clients and customers more happy anyways. So this next mistake is trying to build the perfect course, right? So far too many of you are like overly worried about the aesthetics that you have in your program, making sure the video quality is amazing, making sure that every single bullet point of every single slide is perfectly crafted with the right piece of information. You're worried about having the perfect checklist, the right worksheets, all of these templates. Like, you're adding too much complexity and production quality into your first initial courses when you try to build them, right? So let's take my program, for example. Now I have a very robust online curriculum for my program. I'm even reshooting the videos with better slides, better design, better production quality, all of those things. But when I first launched the program, everything was designed extremely simple. I put my course content into Google Docs. I recorded them using a screen recording software called Loom. And the thing I was trying to get was results for my clients. And I got results for my clients. So when they were landing clients paying them $3,000 to $10,000, they didn't care how my slides looked. They didn't care how my video quality was, right? So you want to have basic standards for these things, but you want to understand that the thing you're providing first is the basic information that they need to get the result. And then, still very similar to what I was talking about before, you want to add nuance as you get feedback on your program. And then, yes, in the long run, it does help to have good production quality. It does help to have well-designed slides. All that stuff does increase your perceived value. But in the beginning, it's just going to slow you down. And the main thing your customers want is the result anyways. So when it comes to your course, a low-tech course with Google Docs, basic slides, and a software called Loom is pretty much all you need. So don't waste all this time focusing on having the most beautiful production quality, because it actually literally isn't going to help you drive any more revenue or get better client results in the beginning. Or let's say you do get to the point where you do have an online course that is doing well. You actually have another mistake, really common mistake that you can run into that will kind of grind your business to a halt. So you want to avoid this one as well. So this next mistake is thinking more is better, right? So what most people do is They'll try to create more products instead of taking the product that they're already selling, making it better, and just going to find more people who have the same pain points and just driving that same transformation, right? So I see this all the time with creators and business owners. They want to have 9 different courses, 8 ebooks, 16 Gumroad templates, Notion templates, all of this complexity. Like logically in their mind, they think if I have a diverse set of products, it's going to help me make more money because I have more things to offer. But you're actually going to make more money faster if you stick to having one product, one avatar, like one person you're trying to help, and one primary platform where you're getting traffic coming to you. And so you should be able to take a single online course or program to $1 million in revenue before you're even thinking about splintering off into all these different products. And so what you can do is once you have that MVP of your program, you help people get results, you develop social proof, and then you raise your prices, right? Because you have proof that you can deliver the result. And then you're just gonna get better and better at delivering the result. And if you have the same type of people with the same problem delivering the same outcome, that means you can laser focus on just obsessing on how to solve that single problem so that you can be the best in your market at solving that problem. Versus if you have a suite of different products, each product that you build isn't making your other products better, right? Because they're too separate. But if everything is self-contained within one system, then that means you're gonna be able to drive the result better, and you're just gonna be able to command higher rates. You're gonna have more proof, and it's gonna become like a momentum sort of snowball where it just gets easier and easier. And so one of the insights that took me a long time to learn as an entrepreneur is that it's not about chasing new, different, shiny objects. It's about getting better at the same sort of boring deliverables and strategy over and over again until it works. And then the last mistake that I wanna end with is, in general, just having this analysis paralysis, thinking about what the market's gonna want from you, trying to do like months and months of business planning and market research. Your best possible bet to scale your business fast is to begin taking the skills that you have, packaging them into a simple offer, and talking to as many people who could be in your ideal client profile as possible, right? I've helped students go from $0 to $10,000 in a month because we focused on coming up with an offer that provides a transformation that people want. And because we're doing high ticket, they only need to convince a few people to say yes in order to hit their income goals. And then after, we start thinking about more scalable solutions, but we don't put a ton of time and effort into having the most meticulously designed sales pages. We don't even use sales pages. We don't have them create the perfect modules. They don't even have modules in the beginning. They just work with their clients one-on-one on Zoom calls to deliver that transformation. And then after we get them some cash, after we get them some social proof, after we get them some client results for their clients, we move on to the steps much faster. So all of that research that you think that you're doing isn't actually going to get you where you need to be. It's actually just a form of procrastination. So the best way to build a business quickly is to get directly in front of people who have a problem that you could solve, get really good at solving that problem on a one-on-one basis, then move into outer circles of having more scalable solutions. So if you want to avoid all of these mistakes and actually build the type of business that gives you that 6 and 7 figure course potential down the road, here's what I want you to do next. Book a call with me in the link in the description of this video. We're going to talk about creating an entire process that you can use to go from one-on-one to one-to-many to having a scalable solution. I've walked clients through this exact pipeline, and it's a much more efficient process that's going to help you build your business faster. So if you want within the next 30 days to be signing your first high ticket client so that you can move on, go to the link in the description, book the call with me. We're going to talk about your exact situation. We're going to put together a plan that's going to help you go from one-on-one to one-to-many to that scalable solution that you want so that you can build your business faster and have something that you can scale and sell for years to come.